My name is Aspen Reed. That night, my phone kept blowing up from the family group chat. Dad typed first, "We're cutting you off. You're no longer my daughter. From now on, everything goes through my lawyer." Mom jumped in right after finally. "You've always been nothing but a disappointment." My older sister Bryn dropped a red heart and added, "Take care of yourself for once." I read every word. No screaming, no begging. I just typed one single word back. "Fine." Then I opened my banking app and started deleting. The $4,000 a month downtown Atlanta penthouse rent canceled. The black cards they all used as their own frozen. The platinum health insurance that paid for every doctor visit, every prescription, every emergency terminated. 6 years of automatic payments over $220,000 total gone in 8 minutes flat. I put the phone down, looked straight into the camera, and let the corner of my mouth lift just a little. If you're listening to this right now, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you, drop a comment and let me know. I'm curious who else has gotten a message like that, and what they did the second after they hit send. Because for me, that tiny fine was only the beginning. 18 hours before the group chat exploded, I was still at my corner office on the 29th floor of the Midtown Tower running final numbers for the hospitality group's third quarter report. The city lights glittered 30 stories below, and the only sound was the low hum of the air conditioning and my fingers on the keyboard. My phone buzzed once. A single text from Uncle Jet, the only Reed relative who had never once asked me to help out just this month. "You need to hear this. Now." Attached was an audio file, 5 minutes and 12 seconds. I slipped in my earbuds, leaned back in the leather chair, and pressed play. At first, there was only background noise, clinking glasses, laughter, the muffled thump of music from the private room at the Buckhead Steakhouse Dad had reserved for his 60th birthday. Then Bryn's voice cut through clear and sharp the way it always got after her second martini. "Honestly, at this point, Aspen is basically our personal bank. One text and the money just appears in the account. It's almost too easy." Colleen laughed loud enough to be picked up by whoever was recording. "As long as she keeps paying the rent on this view and the black cards, I'm not asking questions." A male voice I recognized as one of Dad's old business partners shouted. "To the Reed family's very own walking ATM glasses," clinked. The table roared. I paused the file at 3 minutes 47 seconds. I did not scream. I did not cry. I simply felt the last thread I had been clinging to snap inside my chest. Because I knew exactly how much that walking ATM had cost me. It started 6 years earlier, the same month I accepted my first CFO position at 26. Dad's furniture business had collapsed under bad loans and worse decisions. He called me from the emergency room claiming chest pains from stress. Mom got on the extension voice trembling, told me the bank was taking the family home, the car's everything. They both said the same thing word for word. "You're the responsible one, Aspen. You're the only one who can save us." So I saved them. I signed the lease on a 32nd floor 2-bedroom penthouse in downtown Atlanta so they could keep appearances for the church crowd. $4,000 every first of the month direct from my account. I added all 4 of them to my Platinum Health Plan, zero deductible, the kind that gets you same-day specialist appointments. I gave Bryn a supplementary card with no limit because she was between opportunities and needed to keep up with her friends. I covered the private college tuition she still owed after Dad stopped paying halfway through senior year. I never sat down and added it up until that night in the office, when I finally opened a blank spreadsheet and started typing the rows filled fast. Rent, insurance premiums, credit card bills that sometimes hit $10,000 in a single month, private club dues, European vacations labeled family mission trips, random cash requests that always came with a story about someone else in worse shape. $220,000 and change. Money I earned working weekends, holidays, nights like this one. Money they spent posting gratitude quotes and vacation photos while I ate takeout at my desk. And then there was Fletcher Nash, my college boyfriend for almost 3 full years, the one who said he loved me until he realized my family would always come first, the one who ended things with a text that said he needed space to grow. 6 months later, he accepted the retainer to become Lester's personal attorney. I still remember the Christmas party where he shook Dad's hand, like we had never shared an apartment, never planned a future, never fallen asleep, talking about the house we would buy one day. I closed the spreadsheet, saved the audio file to a folder labeled Evidence, and stared out at the city I had paid for someone else to enjoy. I had opened that banking app 100 times over the years, finger hovering over cancel recurring payment, and always closed it again. Not this time. I did not cancel anything yet. I needed them to hand me the final excuse in writing first. I shut down the computer, turned off the office lights, and walked out knowing exactly what was coming. Tomorrow they would give me the one thing I had been waiting for since the very first transfer. Permission. The phone started its attack before the sun had fully cleared the downtown skyline. Colleen's name flashed across the screen first. I let it ring 6 full times while I stood at the counter waiting for the coffee maker to finish its last gurgle. When I finally pressed accept and set it to speaker, her voice came through sharp enough to cut glass. Aspen, the pharmacy, just turned me away. My blood pressure medication. The insurance card is dead. They said the policy was terminated at midnight. Fix it right now. I poured the coffee, slowly watching the cream swirl. While she kept shouting, Bryn's texts arrived in a flood. 47 messages in under 7 minutes. You have completely lost your mind. This is financial abuse and elder abuse combined. I apologized, okay? Turn the cards back on. Mom is having chest pains because of you. I waited until Colleen had to stop for breath. You disowned me, Colleen, I said, perfectly calm. From now on, everything goes through your lawyer. I ended the call. The screen lit again instantly. Bryn trying video. I declined. Another text. She is literally shaking and crying in the kitchen. Are you proud of yourself? I placed the mug on the counter, opened my laptop, and pulled up the complete church directory I had saved years ago when I was still volunteering for every committee they asked. For 20 straight years, the Reed name had been untouchable at Buckhead Grace Community Church. Dad sat on the finance committee that controlled 6-figure mission budgets. Mom directed the women's ministry and organized the fall festival that brought in more money than most small churches saw all year. Bryn sang solos whenever the offering plates looked light and posted Bible verses with ocean sunsets on Instagram. They were the picture-perfect family every new member was pointed toward as an example of what God can do when a family stays faithful. Every time I tried to reduce even one payment, the same threat came out delivered with soft voices and concerned eyes in the church parking lot. What will people think if the Reeds fall apart? The church is watching. God hates division. That perfect image had been their most powerful weapon, and I had spent 6 years polishing it for them. I opened a fresh email. I typed every elder's address, every deacon, every member of the Scholarship Foundation Board, every major donor who loved being included on everything. 211 names total. Subject line: conclusion of my financial involvement with the Reed family. The body was short, clinical, and impossible to misinterpret. Last night, Lester Reed, Colleen Reed, and Bryn Reed informed me in writing that I am no longer considered their daughter or sister. For the sake of full transparency with the community that has known and supported them for 2 decades, I have attached a complete financial record of the support I have provided since I was 26 years old, along with recent audio context that explains why that support has now ended permanently. I attached the spreadsheet with every date, every description, every dollar final total circled in red. I attached the birthday recording from Uncle Jet. I read the entire message 3 times. No insults, no sarcasm. Just facts in black and white. Bryn tried FaceTime again. I let it time out. A 30-second voice note followed actual sobbing, gasping for air. The elders are already talking about an emergency meeting. You are destroying everything we have built our entire lives. I thought about the Christmas Eve services where Colleen stood on stage thanking God for her two beautiful daughters, while later that night texting me that I needed to transfer another $8,000 before December 31st or the year-end giving report would look bad. I thought about the mission trip photos Bryn posted from Greece paid for with the supplementary card that had my name as primary account holder. I thought about the private prayer requests that somehow always included, "Please pray for Aspen's heart to stay generous." I clicked send at 9:17 exactly. By 9:44, I had 31 new emails from addresses ending in the church domain. Some were stunned silence. Some were direct questions to Lester demanding explanation. Some were private notes to me saying they had always wondered but never felt it was their place to ask. Colleen called again. This time, her panic was mixed with pure rage. "They are forwarding your email to every committee. Take it back before tomorrow." I took a slow sip of coffee. "You have Fletcher for legal issues." Bryn broke through on video. The background was the penthouse kitchen with the marble island I had paid to have installed after she decided the old one looked cheap. "You think this makes you powerful?" she screamed through tears. "You just lit our entire reputation on fire in front of people who have known us since we were born." I looked straight into the camera. "You lit mine first. I am only letting the smoke clear." I ended the call, closed the laptop, and walked to my own small balcony. The city was fully awake now, and for the first time in 6 years, nobody was waiting for my next transfer. The silence that followed was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. The email disappeared from my outbox at 11:03 that night. I expected the usual delayed reactions, maybe a handful of polite messages by the next afternoon. Nothing more dramatic than a few raised eyebrows at Sunday service. The response came much faster and much louder. Within minutes, the replies started rolling in first from individuals who still had my personal email saved from years of volunteer sign-up sheets. Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, the sweet widow who sat third row center every week and always slipped $20 bills into the offering plate with a trembling hand, wrote first, "Aspen. I just opened this. Is everything in the attachment real? I am sitting here shaking." I stared at the screen and did not type back. Then the tone shifted hard. Elder David Marion, the man whose signature approved every scholarship check Lester ever handed out, forwarded my entire message to the full leadership text thread with a single sentence in bold red letters: "We are meeting first thing tomorrow. No exceptions." Deacon Phillips responded to the whole group seconds later, "I have listened to that recording 4 times. Lester has to face this tonight." By the time I set the phone down to make tea, screenshots were already moving through the women's ministry chat. Someone had circled the part about the birthday toast in bright pink and added a string of gasping emojis. Another member posted the folded hands emoji directly beneath Colleen's name. It looked far more like judgment than prayer. Bryn began calling at a frantic pace. 9 missed video calls stacked on top of each other. On the 10th, I finally accepted. She was pacing across the penthouse living room, the one with the custom velvet sectional I had paid to recover twice because she kept changing her mind about color. The skyline glowed behind her through windows I had never once stood in front of to enjoy. "You have to delete it right now," she said, before I could even breathe. "The scholarship committee just called Dad. They have suspended the entire fund until they finish an audit. They are talking about removing him from the board for good." I stayed silent. She stopped in front of the marble fireplace. "This is our home, Aspen. Our friends. Our life. You are burning it all down." I finally spoke. "You burned mine first. I am only letting the smoke clear." She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "Fletcher is drafting a cease and desist as we speak. You can still stop this." I looked past her at the abstract painting she had charged $23,000 for because it matched the energy. "Tell Fletcher to send the bill to Lester," I said, and ended the call. The messages kept coming in waves. A former youth pastor who used to lead lock-ins wrote a long note about praying for softened hearts and restored relationships. The woman who had chaired the fall festival for the last 5 years messaged privately, "I always wondered how your parents could afford that place after the business failed. Thank you for your courage." The senior pastor pinned an announcement in the private Facebook group asking members to refrain from public speculation, while leadership addressed a painful family matter with grace and truth. The word truth stood out in bold. Lester tried calling from the cell number I had kept active since I was in college. I watched the screen light up, then go dark again. A new email appeared from the executive director of the Scholarship Foundation. The subject line was short and formal: "Immediate freeze on all Reed Family Fund disbursements pending full review." I left it unopened. The women's ministry leader sent a group voice note that auto-played when I brushed the screen. "Ladies, please stop forwarding screenshots. Leadership is handling this. We are still one body." Her voice cracked on the last word. Prayer requests began appearing on the public church page, carefully worded posts from deacon wives asking the congregation to lift up a longtime ministry family walking through exposure and accountability. The comment sections filled with responses that cut deep in the politest possible way. "Praying the Lord cleans his own house. Thankful for light in dark places. Grateful for a sister willing to speak hard truth." Each new notification lit the ceiling above my bed in soft blue pulses. I turned the phone face down, but the glow still leaked around the edges. I never fell asleep. I just lay there watching the city lights through the blinds, listening to an entire community I once tried so hard to please turn its full attention to the truth I had finally laid bare. By the time the sky outside shifted from black to charcoal, the silence that followed was no longer heavy. It was absolute, and it belonged entirely to me. Bryn went live on Instagram from the 32nd floor living room. I only knew because half the church started tagging me within seconds. The thumbnail showed her sitting on the floor in front of the marble fireplace, mascara, streaking hair unbrushed for what might have been the first time in her adult life. The caption read, "When family betrayal goes too far, live prayer and truth." She started crying before the viewer count hit 2,000. "I never wanted to do this publicly," she began voice breaking on cue. "But my little sister has chosen to destroy our family because she's been jealous since we were children." She cut off all support the second our parents finally stood up to her controlling behavior. Comments exploded. "Praying for you, sweet girl. That's so evil. Some people can't handle boundaries." She dabbed her eyes with a tissue that probably cost more than most people's grocery runs. "She's always wanted what I had," Bryn continued. "The attention, the love, the life. And when Mom and Dad finally said enough, she decided to punish all of us." The door behind her opened. Fletcher walked into frame wearing the same navy suit he wore to every church banquet, hair perfect, jaw set like he was about to deliver closing arguments. He sat beside her, put an arm around her shoulders, and looked straight into the camera. "I'm Fletcher Nash, counsel for the Reed family," he announced, voice smooth and practiced. "What Aspen has done is textbook defamation and tortious interference. We will be filing suit tomorrow morning for damages and immediate injunction to remove all false statements from circulation." The chat went wild. "Get her, Fletcher, protect this family. God bless you both." Bryn leaned into him, fresh tears falling. "All we ever did was love her." I closed the app. I had muted everything else, but the tags kept coming. Old youth group friends, women from Mom's Bible study. Even the barista at the coffee shop inside the church building screenshotted it and sent it with a single question mark. I set the phone face down and opened a bottle of water instead. That evening, a number I had not saved in 8 years lit up the screen. Waverly, my cousin, Felicia's daughter. We had grown up one neighborhood apart, shared bunk beds at family camp, promised each other we would be bridesmaids no matter what. I had not heard her voice since she was 19. I answered. Silence for 3 full seconds, then a whisper so soft I almost missed it. Aspen, it's me. I waited. She took a shaky breath. I saw the live stream. I saw everything. And I can't stay quiet anymore. Another pause. When I was 17, she said, voice cracking at the lake house during the big family reunion. Uncle Lester did something to me that no adult should ever do to a child. Something deeply inappropriate. Something that still wakes me up at night. My grip tightened on the phone. I told my mom the next morning, she continued. Felicia cried, then told me I must have misunderstood. That Uncle Lester would never. That if I ever repeated it, I would destroy the entire family. The church. Everything they had built. She was crying now, quiet tears I could hear through the line. Bryn walked in while we were talking, Waverly whispered. She heard all of it, and she looked me in the eye and said, some things are better left buried if you want to keep your lifestyle. Then she walked out and never spoke of it again. I closed my eyes. I've carried that for 12 years, she said, watching them smile on stage, watching you pay for everything, knowing why they needed you to keep paying, knowing why they could never risk you walking away. The line went quiet except for her breathing. I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, she finally managed. I was scared. I was ashamed. But after tonight, after seeing them play victim on camera, I couldn't let you carry this alone anymore. I opened my eyes and stared at the wall. Thank you for telling me, I said. She let out a small, broken laugh. I don't know what happens now. I just know I needed you to hear the truth from someone who was there. We stayed on the phone another 20 minutes. She told me about therapy, about nightmares, about the way Felicia still changed the subject whenever Waverly tried to bring it up. When we hung up, the apartment felt different. The anger I had carried for years shifted into something colder, harder, final. I opened the laptop again, created a new folder titled Everything, and saved the call recording Waverly had just sent me with her permission. Then I closed the lid, turned off every light, and for the first time since the group chat message, I slept without dreaming. The church wasted no time once the outside accountant arrived. 2 elders, the head of finance, and a forensic specialist from a downtown firm, locked themselves in the administrative wing with every ledger, every bank statement, and every donation record connected to the Reed Family Scholarship Fund. They worked through meals, through nights, through whispered arguments that leaked into the hallway. On the second afternoon, they found the pattern. It was not one careless transfer. It was dozens. $65,000 total, taken in pieces small enough to hide among legitimate expenses. $5,000 here labeled emergency student aid that went to a personal account. $3,000 there marked travel stipend that paid for first-class tickets to Italy. $800 at a time withdrawn in cash and never documented. Golf membership renewals listed as community outreach. Spa weekends in North Carolina recorded as donor appreciation retreats. Every dollar meant for teenagers who could not afford college had been quietly rerouted to keep the Reed lifestyle afloat. The leadership meeting that followed lasted 4 hours. No one recorded minutes. No one leaked details. When it ended, the senior pastor walked out alone, face gray, and personally called Lester to deliver the verdict in private. Removal from all positions, immediate, permanent, a trespass order barring him from church property until the congregation voted otherwise, if it ever did. The scholarship fund frozen, renamed the Grace Community Scholars Program, and placed under an entirely new board with zero Reed involvement. By sundown, the news had traveled through every text chain, every prayer group, every carpool line. Bryn discovered how fast a social circle can evaporate when money and reputation both disappear. The women who once fought to sit beside her at Bible study suddenly remembered previous commitments. The country club friends who texted daily stopped responding. The private school parents who used to beg for playdate slots now looked through her in the pickup line. Within a week, she was standing behind a register at a gourmet market in Buckhead, from 6 until noon, then pulling evening shifts waiting tables at a busy bistro off Peachtree Road. Black non-slip shoes hair in a tight bun forced smile, while carrying trays of $20 steaks to people who used to invite her to their lake houses. Fletcher's collapse happened even faster. The managing partner at his firm saw the live stream clips circulating among associates. By 9 the next morning, Fletcher was summoned to the 42nd floor. 30 minutes later, he walked out with a banker's box containing his law school diploma, a dying desk plant, and a severance agreement he was told to sign immediately or face disbarment proceedings for unethical conduct. His name vanished from the firm website before lunch. The city kept moving. Then came the Thursday the sky opened up. A cold front rolled in from the west and parked itself over Atlanta, dumping rain in sheets that turned gutters into rivers and made the streets shine like oil. I had just finished a long run through Piedmont Park soaked to the bone hair plastered to my face when the lobby intercom buzzed. The black and white security feed showed Lester standing under the awning coat collar, turned up, no umbrella water streaming off him in rivers. His hair had gone almost completely gray in days. His shoulders curved inward like a man carrying something far heavier than rain. I stared at the screen for 10 full seconds. Then I pressed the button to let him up. He stepped out of the elevator looking smaller than I had ever seen him. Water pooled around his shoes on the hardwood. His hands shook as he held a folded piece of paper that was already beginning to disintegrate. They took everything he said before I could speak. His voice sounded like gravel. The church. The bank. The house is next. Foreclosure notice came yesterday. I wouldn't be here if there was any other option. I stayed by the door, arms crossed. He tried again, softer. You know numbers. You know how these things look on paper. One statement from you saying it was all a misunderstanding, that family pressure got out of hand. Just one statement, and I can still salvage something. I walked to the kitchen counter, picked up the single sheet waiting there, and held it out. The official letter from Buckhead Grace Community Church. Heavy cream stock embossed seal signed by every elder. Permanent removal from leadership. Indefinite trespass order. New fund name. Explicit prohibition on any future Reed involvement. He took it with trembling fingers. His eyes moved across the line slowly, as if each word physically hurt. This can't be permanent, he whispered. I said nothing. He looked up, eyes red and desperate. Aspen, I'm your father. I met his gaze without flinching. You disowned me, remember? The words hung between us. For a moment he looked like he might argue, might beg, might fall to his knees right there in the hallway. Instead, he only folded the wet letter smaller, clutched it to his chest, and turned back toward the elevator. The doors closed. I locked the deadbolt, leaned my forehead against the cool wood, and listened to the rain keep falling. Outside, the storm showed no sign of stopping, and for the first time in my entire life, none of it was my job to clean up. The quiet that followed the storm lasted exactly 4 months before I decided what to do with it. I took every dollar that used to leave my account on the 1st of each month and opened a new one, this time in my name only. Not for travel, not for clothes, not for anyone else's image. The Aspen Reed Independence Foundation launched on a Tuesday morning in early fall. I filed the paperwork myself, hired a small law firm that specialized in nonprofit startups, and set the mission in stone: full-ride scholarships for first-generation college students who have been the primary financial support for their families since high school. Kids carrying rent, medical bills, little siblings, anything that forced them to choose between their future and survival. The first application cycle opened with 10 awards. By the time the deadline hit, we had 412 complete files on the desk. I read every single essay myself. One girl from rural South Georgia wrote about working night shifts at a chicken plant so her mother could stop cleaning offices. A boy from Chattanooga explained how he had been paying the electric bill since he was 15 because his father's disability checks never stretched far enough. Another applicant attached a photo of the ledger she kept in a spiral notebook every dollar earned and spent since sophomore year, just to prove she was telling the truth. I approved all 10 the same week. Their acceptance letters went out on heavy cream paper with my actual signature at the bottom. The thank you notes started arriving 3 days later and have not stopped since. One hangs framed above my desk now. Because of you, I will be the first person in my family to walk across a graduation stage in a cap and gown instead of a fast food uniform. My phone has stayed silent in a way I never thought possible. No more middle-of-the-night texts about declined cards at designer boutiques. No more calendar alerts reminding me to transfer rent before late fees hit. The old numbers are blocked. The email addresses auto-routed to trash the past, sealed off like a vault. Bryn tried once. A single message slipped through a new account subject line. Please read. 4 long paragraphs about swollen feet from double shifts, about foreclosure papers served at the restaurant, about Lester and Colleen, now living in a 2-bedroom ranch house off a county road where the nearest neighbor is half a mile away, and nobody from the old church ever drives out that far. She ended with, I was wrong about everything and we are still blood. I never answered. The email moved itself to trash 30 days later and was gone forever. The penthouse sold at auction for less than half what they owed. New owners gutted the marble painted over the custom walls and turned it into short-term corporate rentals. Lester and Colleen drive a 10-year-old sedan, now shop at discount grocery stores, and attend a tiny Baptist church 40 minutes away where nobody knows their history, and nobody asks them to lead anything. Fletcher's name disappeared from every legal directory in the state. Word is he took a low-level associate job in Mobile under a different senior partner starting over at 40 with the salary he used to laugh about. I drove past Buckhead Grace one Sunday morning in October just once on my way to meet the first scholarship recipients for breakfast. The parking lot was packed with new cars. Young families walked in carrying toddlers and coffee cups, laughing about football scores and school fundraisers. The old scholarship banner had been replaced with a new one in different colors. Grace Community Scholars Program, no last names attached. I slowed at the stop sign, rolled the window down, let the organ music drift out for a few seconds. Then I smiled, pressed the accelerator, and kept driving. I have not been back since. People still ask if I ever miss them. The honest answer is no. I miss the idea of parents who celebrate your success instead of mining it. I miss the idea of a sister who cheers for you instead of competing with you. I miss the idea of family meaning safety instead of scoreboard. But I do not miss the people who taught me those ideas were fairy tales. If you are watching this and you are the one who always pays, always fixes, always says yes, because saying no would make you the monster, hear me clearly. Your value is not a balance sheet others get to write in red ink. Your love is not a subscription they can keep as long as the direct deposit clears. Your future is not collateral for their comfort. You are allowed to cancel the payment. You are allowed to block the number. You are allowed to close the door and never open it again. And when you do, the silence on the other side is not punishment. It is oxygen. It is space. It is the first day of a life where your worth is no longer negotiable. That is the inheritance I claimed for myself. And now, if you need it, it is yours too.